Pittsburgh Steelers have made their decision. There is no running back battle. There has never been a running back battle. And now we get to decide whether or not and get to see whether or not it's the right call. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbein. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalk and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Today, we're talking about Najee Harris, the Pittsburgh Steelers running back battle, and the non-existent issue, the non-existent worry that the Pittsburgh Steelers have that some fans, some media, including myself, have talked about in a light that shines somewhat negatively on Najee Harris. There's quite a big fascination on whether or not the Pittsburgh Steelers should move on from Najee Harris and move forward with Jaylen Warren. And that has been there for the last 2 years. Before that, Najee Harris was looked at as a rookie running back that many had serious questions about after going in the first round, but a guy that people had optimism for. After last season, another year where he did not average at least 4 yards a carry, people started to look at him and say, maybe it's time to announce that this guy isn't who the Pittsburgh Steelers hope that he is. And the major question is, are they right? Or should the Pittsburgh Steelers feel just fine moving forward with Najee Harris with minimal worries, no lower expectations, as some may have, and no thought that Jaylen Warren could be a better running back? Should they do that? I think yes. I think the way I look at the Steelers running back situation right now is very simple, at least in my eyes. Jaylen Warren is a guy who you can set up for massive plays. And Steven said it the other day on the podcast, and I couldn't agree with them more. You look at Jaylen Warren as a guy that could burst for 60 yards. He could outrun most people on a football field. He could set you up for an explosive play. Najee Harris is not that guy. He's not a guy that's going to break a 40 or 50 yard run. He's not a guy that's going to take it from the 20 of your own 20 to the end zone. He's not a guy that you use other running backs to set up. He's a guy that sets up other runners. He is a guy that sets up Jaylen Warren. And I think it's as simple as that. The Pittsburgh Steelers have two very good options. And in my opinion, I think they have a third that's brewing in Anthony McFarland. But they have two very good options. Their first one is a guy who might only average just under 4 yards a carry. But in the NFL, if you get 4 yards 3 times or just under 4 yards 3 times in a row, you'll get a first down. And you could move the clock. And I mean, I still find guys in Madden who continuously do that. And man, do I hate them. But it's efficient and it works and it runs the clock and it keeps your offense on the field. It allows your offensive line to love their job because all they're doing is ground and pound football, and it keeps your defense fresh. You average just under, it's got to be above 3.5, but if you average just under 4 yards a carry, it will take you 3 attempts to get a first down. That's all the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for. Jaylen Warren is a guy that could come in on third down after Najee ground and pounded it for 2 downs or 3 downs or 4 downs or however many you want, that you just continuously worked your running back. Jaylen's a guy that could step on the football field and in one play take it 60 yards and outrun everybody on a football field and make everybody go nuts and have the crowd lose their mind and bring excitement to the field and to your offense. And he could do that consistently. But you don't want that every play. And yeah, everybody wants to score a touchdown. And if you score a touchdown in one play every drive, heck, chances are you're winning that football game. You know, it's hard to argue that you should against you scoring every time you touch the football. And by that, I mean every single time you touch the football. Anybody sitting around saying, well, the Steelers should not score in one play. Yeah, no, they should. They should always score. And if it's in one play, it's in one play. And you feel totally fine about that argument, about that situation, and about the Steelers offense as a whole. But realistically, when you're talking about the Steelers offense and who they are, you have to imagine that this is a team that's going to work the field as much as they can. that this is a team that Kenny Pickett is going to have his explosive plays and his 25-plus yard passes, but for the most part is going to get you out of third downs and move the rock and keep the sticks going and not really struggle much, but at the same time, doesn't always have to be splash plays. Najee Harris is a guy that is going to come into a ball game and he's going to get you 4 yards, and then he's going to get you another 4 yards, and then he's going to get you another 4 yards. And you're going to move the rock and move the rock. And when you're on the 50 or you're on the 40 or wherever you are, Jaylen Warren could step into a ball game and he could take it to the house. That's a great 1-2 punch. That's exactly what every NFL team is working for, is looking towards, and trying to find. The Steelers have it. The problem is, in the NFL, a lot of times when one good thing happens, we want to discount another good thing. And we want to take away 2 great things because for some reason there's a narrative that you can't have more than one, or that the one is taking away from the other's greatness. And I don't think that you see that in Pittsburgh. Jaylen Warren is very content being an RB2. He's totally fine working behind Najee. He sees his value in that position. He sees the value in learning and taking away from Najee Harris. Najee Harris is very content with Jaylen Warren being the guy that he sets up for major runs. That works perfectly. It's the George Pickens Deontay argument. Deontay doesn't have to go just because George Pickens is emerging as a superstar. Deontay could be a very, very valuable wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, while George Pickens is on his way to being one of the best wide receivers in football. Najee Harris can be a very, very good running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, while Jaylen Warren is their piece to the puzzle that they did not have in years past, and that piece gets you 60 yards on a run. That's all I'm saying. When it comes to the running backs in Pittsburgh, there is no competition. They have no competition. They're not even looking for a competition. They've known this entire summer that Najee Harris is going to limit his workload, and I don't know if I agree with that. I've been on this podcast before talking about how I don't, and I think I still stand there. I think I still sit in the thought that Najee should have more reps and should have a bigger workload this summer, and it's weird and very risky, in my opinion, to walk into a regular season and say, here's your 4 preseason reps. Go make something happen. Just doesn't seem like a good move if I'm the general manager and the offensive coordinator and the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm dealing with this situation. But it's how they're handling it. And they expect Najee Harris to, as Matt Canada put it today, be Najee Harris and continue to be just as dominant and just as efficient as he's been in years past. He's a back-to-back 1,000-yard rusher. He's a guy that you are not going to turn away from. Even if he did lose the starting job, Najee Harris isn't going anywhere. If Jaylen Warren bursted onto the scene and was one of the greatest running backs in NFL history, Najee Harris isn't going anywhere. You're still going to utilize both of them. Do I think that the Steelers should at times let the hot hand run? Yes, 100%. And do I think that having the narrative that you're running an offense through Najee Harris isn't going to work? Yeah, I agree. I don't think that running an offense through your running back who isn't as efficient as your other running back isn't the right move. And who isn't as efficient as your quarterback isn't the right move. I don't think Najee Harris should be the focal point of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, but at the same time, I don't think that he needs to take a back seat to Jaylen Warren. I think that as long as the Steelers utilize both of them correctly and allow Najee Harris to set up Jaylen Warren, then you're utilizing your running backs appropriately. You're doing exactly what you should when you have a ground and pound option and a major burst option. The Steelers have 2 guys that work very differently, and they could utilize both of them to make this thing work. They should. They're going to. And as long as Najee Harris continues to do what he does and stays on the course of towards 1,000 yards and just under 4.0 yards per carry, and Jaylen Warren continues to be that explosive player he's been, I think the Steelers' backfield is going to be just fine.